Good afternoon, everyone. I will stand on the existing protocol. Thanks for having me. I established Think Electric Africa because in 2012, I wanted an electric car. When Nissan told me there are no technicians and the technology is not meant for Nigeria. So I started to see how can we do this for ourselves. We can have our own technology. And the research brought a patent, and we established Think Electric Africa, where we have today, I don't know where Neta got this profile from, we have completed 2 electric vehicles, and we have electric bicycles as well, and we have trained quite a number of people. I thought I have a slide for this. I was hoping to show people what we've done so far. And moving on from there, we saw that we need to start something in this space that will make some profit. Okay, so this is Think Electric Africa, and our objective to build the capacity of people when we eventually move into sustainability using electric mobility. Because one of the key problems I was told is that there are no technicians. So we have trained over 1,000 people right now while we were working, and everything we learned in converting the internal combustion engine to electric vehicle. And so far, we are also working on renewable energy and all. Move on to the next slide, please. So this our project. The first one there is the electric vehicle. The second one we worked on. The next picture are the electric bicycle we worked on. No, please go back a little. And this is the biogas that yesterday we worked on. We have made it smart. And this project actually won the All-On grant in September. And the renewable energy, the solar panel and everything we've done. Then what brought us to IFI, next slide, is the Think Bikes. We saw that there are needs to actually move goods because Nigeria relies so much on trucks. And if you listen to the news recently, a truck brake failed in the Onitsha market, killing people, running over people. You will wonder why will a truck go into the market? They are always having tiny little pathways. So to prevent such disaster, we have a cargo bike that can do 300 kg for businesses to move their goods. It's pedestrian friendly, and we are at high fare to make sure this product comes to market. Thanks for having me.
Okay, please move on to the next slide, Rotem. Okay. No, next one. Yes. If you would have visited Tel Aviv lately, this is what you would see. Riding birds shared electric scooters is the new way to go by in Tel Aviv. Bird is the last mile electric vehicle sharing company dedicated to bringing affordable, environmentally friendly transportation solution to communities across the world. In IFER, we connect between Nigerian and Israeli innovators in order for them to inspire each other, to learn from each other, and sometimes collaborate. When we met Tolu, we immediately realized how amazing it will be to connect him with Mr. Yaniv Rivlin. Yaniv is Bird's regional general manager in Israel and a senior director in the global company, where he also runs the Europe, Middle East, and Africa Government Partnership Department. Yaniv is responsible for leading the successful adoption of Bird in Israel, which has been acknowledged globally, including by the WSJ, Yahoo, and Newsweek. So we are very excited to welcome Yaniv.
Very excited to be here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you. Can you see us?
I can see you. Yeah, I'll just share my screen, I think. That's okay. Awesome. Wait. Present. Now we're good. Can you see you can see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Awesome, perfect. So a real pleasure to be here with all of you. I wish I could be with you in person, but I'm still happy that I have a chance to present to you all about the exciting mode of new transportation and micromobility, and really appreciate this opportunity. I think Bird's mission is to really make cities more livable by reducing traffic and carbon emissions. Don't need to tell you about where traffic, we all go through it. I think just in Tel Aviv, a couple of numbers, every day by 2025, over 1 million cars will enter Tel Aviv. Traffic congestion is really crazy. So we started Bird 4 years ago in order to change that and to provide micromobility alternatives through shared electric scooters to the world. Tel Aviv and Israel was our first market outside of the US where we launched, and it's been one of our most successful markets since then. I'll talk a little bit also about that, and I hope you all also have a chance to experience the e-scooters. Let's see if we have go over the movie, but I'll give you a little bit of a brief history about Bird. We were the fastest growing company in the history of the world. So after 8 months, we became a unicorn, and after 10 months, we were worth $2 billion. I think that was really out of the understanding that electric mobility in cities can transform it. I think if we look at cities, they're not the way cities will look in a few years, because cars take up a lot of space and also are not the most efficient way to get around. I think we can all agree on that. So really, we launched in 2018, and since then we've launched a few different vehicles on the way. I think there's a few things that people were saying about us. I think in general, like, technology has really moved forward. We started from with scooters that were off the shelf in order to prove consumer demand, and then we turned into vehicles that we made ourselves. So right now we're at our 4th generation of scooters. You can see on the right the Bird 3, which is much more powerful and awesome to use. To give you a little bit of numbers, in Tel Aviv, we did over 8 million rides and over 500,000 unique users in just 3 years, which is kind of an astonishing number. I think the adoption that we've seen is amazing. And what excites me the most is that really it's making the air much cleaner. It gives an affordable way for people to get around. Also, if you look at the numbers, over 25% of rides were rides that were commuters, so commuted to the trains or buses, and also 35% of the rides were between 8 to 10 a.m. and 5 to 7 p.m., which are the times that people go to and from work. So it really shows that it's here to change people's habits. I think in terms of obviously our customers, we have a few different constituencies: the cities, the riders, the communities, and also the fleet managers, who are the people that operate our scooters around the world. We use local entrepreneurs to operate our fleets globally. It's a great way to connect to the community. I really hope, again, that we will also have a chance to bring Bird to Nigeria, to other African countries, through local entrepreneurs that want to operate it. It's a great model that we provide all the resources and everything, and the local entrepreneurs that knows the city much better than we do and knows the country can operate in a great way. Right now, we have a of those around the world. I think, again, I know that also Africa has a lot of traffic congestion, so it can be a great way to get around. I think one of the things that we still need to solve around that is just the unit economics in terms of the cost per bird, because it needs to return a good amount of money until it depreciates. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges there. Discussed a little bit about the cities, but really our number one customer. We partner with local governments to ensure that it's a great way for the city. I think one of the things that we've created is government technology, which basically provides cities and our partners with all of our data that we collect. Obviously aggregatory, but we provide it to the city so they can make better decisions around their public sphere. So think about it in Tel Aviv, for instance. The deputy mayor came out and said they have a plan for 2025, how to have 25% of micromobility by then, and the bike lanes that they've put together are from the data that we provided, because never before would the city have gotten such accurate data from point A to point B of 500,000 different users and more than 8 million rides. So it's a great way for cities to really improve the way they look at their infrastructure. Obviously, riders are one of our number one customer. We need them in order to move around. Love seeing, going around Tel Aviv and seeing riders and talking to them, because I think they really understand that it's a great way to move freely in a fun, safe, environmentally friendly way. There's a great analysis by McKinsey that by 2030, the micromobility space will be over $30 billion. And I think one of the biggest things is right now we're already, think about it, we invented the space both in the world 4 years ago and in Israel just a little after. And now right now we're in close to 400 cities. So my hope is that, in the next couple of years we'll be almost in every city around the globe. Hope to get to Africa as well, Nigeria, and really partner with amazing entrepreneurs there to provide this service.
Thank you, Yaniv. Do you have anything to ask Tolu here?
For sure, 1 second, I'll stop sharing my screen. Amazing. Yeah, I think in terms of Tolu, first of all, had a chance to connect, so really appreciate your grit. I would love to ask you, what do you need at the moment? I think from the government or from other officials in order to be able to launch such a service in Nigeria. What are the main barriers there that you encounter and see?
Yeah, Yanni, thank you. It's nice to see you again. Basically, we from the government, we will be looking at policies that will really accelerate the adoption of e-mobility generally, not micromobility alone right now. I know NADDC DG was here and he's been trying a lot when it comes to electric mobility in the country, but we need a concerted effort from all key players, and we need to start looking forward to have a particular policy that will enable us to move quickly to electric mobility. So I will want the government to really lead this by inviting key players in renewable energy as well as electric mobility to start looking at policies that will favor this adoption in terms of rebates, subsidy, and the likes that we have. And when it comes to micromobility, you see most road infrastructures in Nigeria do not support micromobility, except you want it in a geo-fenced environment. You don't want to put your bike on the highway. I think in 2019, the Minister of Transport was actually out to advocate for the use of bicycle more, and he demonstrated that on the street of Abuja. Well, you see, it goes beyond that, because ever since that effort that made the news, nothing much has been done. So we need to start looking at things that are practical, things that will actually help innovators, local innovators, like we are doing at Think Bikes and what brought us here, to begin to look at how we can locally produce, locally manufacture some of these things in terms of cost, because they are on the high end as well, So majorly, everything the government needs to do to accelerate the adoption is what I'm hoping for. And that's that. Thank you. Am I supposed to ask him questions now? Okay, so Yaniv, I've read a lot about your work in Israel, in LA, and the successes of Bird. And one of the things that stood out in what I read is you were giving a lot of accolades to the policies and regulators in your country. So I wanted to know, what are those specific policies that has helped your work, the use of scooters, micromobility in Israel, that Nigeria can adopt or adapt to our own system? And I hope you'll be able to help with that. Thank you.
100%. I think that's a great question. I think one of the things that we always need to remember is that the industry is still young. So we invented the industry, and Bird, invented the industry, and we invented it just 4 years ago, right? So the industry is moving in a super fast pace, but also we're creating the regulatory environment as time goes by. And I think one of the biggest things that everybody understands that, again, electric vehicles, micromobility, that's the way the future is going to, and the regulators need to adapt to it. So I mentioned a little before, I think one of the things that the city did really well was, first of all, see the adoption of e-scooters, of micromobility in Tel Aviv, and understood that they need to be a part of the revolution. And in order to do that, you got to make sure that you have also the right infrastructure. So they basically built bike lanes in really almost in every major spot, a lot based on the data that we provided them, in order for people to feel safe to get from point A to point B all around Tel Aviv. And I think that made a huge difference for the rider community. I think it made a huge, in a way, it was saying, we are no longer putting the private car in the top of the pyramid, but rather we're reversing it. And micromobility and bicycles are the leading way to do it. I'll never forget before we launched Tel Aviv, which again was our first market together with Paris, outside of the US. I came to the mayor of Tel Aviv, Ron Huldai, and I met with him, and I showed him a presentation. And in the presentation, one of the slides was a car, as opposed to a parking spot with a car versus a parking spot for 15 birds, and thought that was a dream. But I wanted to make him understand how we look at things and what his city can look like. And crazy enough, a year after, basically the mayor and the entire city took actions and made those parking spots for shared e-scooters into a reality. And I think we all know how the public sector works and all that. That was a huge step to take parking spots to accelerate that. But it made a huge difference for the way micromobility was perceived and how people felt, because they did parking spots every 50 meters. But think about it. Until now, we're so used to having cars everywhere, but every spot can be 15 microelectric vehicles that are better for the environment, are better for the users, and are much easier to get around. So I think in terms of, I want to leave you with, I think it's more about the mindset, adapting, understanding that that's where the future is going to, and taking those steps to really make sure that the car is not the leading way of getting around.
Yeah, thank you so much. I have one more question. Nigeria has about 200 million population right now, and Africa about 1.2 billion. And I believe when Nigeria has an headache, practically a number of countries in Africa is suffering from the same. So how do you think, 80% of the people still use public transport, It's not all of them that have the financial capacity to actually own a vehicle, to move them around. So public transportation is the in thing here. And I want to know, how do you think we can accelerate the adoption of electric mobility into public public transportation? And while you're answering that, I want you to talk about, because it's been a debate, like we need to have charging infrastructure before electric mobility. For you, which one should come first? We should have the electric mobility or the charging infrastructure and all other infrastructures that support e-mobility? Which one should come first? Thank you.
I think that's a really, really great question, right? It's a chicken and the egg. I would say here is that I think electric mobility needs to come first, while you also build infrastructure. Because to be honest, the revolution is already here. It's happening. It's going to continue to happen, right? If people understand that that's the best way to get around in cities, especially as you mentioned, the amount of people, the amount of cars, the amount of congestion, it's not good for the environment. All the signs go there. When I meet with cities, they tell me, I don't want to put it in because we don't have the infrastructure yet. I said, electric mobility is here. Whether your thing is to make sure that it's entered in the right way, and doing it in a way that goes together with that. Because already the train has left the station, and the train has left the station rightfully so, because we're moving into a different era. So I think it's twofold. I think the electric vehicles should be a part of the urban way. I think institutions and cities should adopt them, but do it in a smart way while they build the infrastructure that will move them into the 21st century.
Thank you very much. And one question that I'm curious about, because of the terrain we have in Nigeria, you run an open city e-scooter sharing services, and I'm curious to know how you are able to secure these scooters when people use them, because I've read a lot, even in China, people still lose the scooters, not minding the sophistication in security, cameras everywhere and all. So how are you able to secure your scooters and other things you could share with us? Thank you.
100%. I think that's a main challenge that actually we've made a lot of progress in since we launched 4 years ago and today. 4 years ago, the churn rate was much, much higher. I think one of the things that shared mobility has an advantage is the fact that we have, GPSs on every vehicle, so we know where the vehicle is. That being said, it's not completely protected, and I think it's a matter. If you look at Israel, for instance, when it started, there was much higher theft and vandalism, but after a while, it became a part of the urban view of a city, and it was something that was more in the fabric. And once that happens, it goes down. And I think you also need to crack down on that vehicle. I think in general, if you look at the trajectory that I talked about before, we started with off-the-shelf vehicles, which were not meant for shared mobility, and therefore they were also more vandalized and theft. And then we started producing our own vehicles with people from Tesla, from NASA, etc. That's where we are now. So we're much more protected, but we're still not 100% there. So I think you really need to crack down on it in order to make it the most efficient possible.